Have you ever thought, is this just me when struggling to stay organized, start tasks, or manage time? For those of us over 50, these challenges might not be just aging. They could be ADHD hiding in plain sight for decades. I'm Jami Shapiro, host of Grandma Has ADHD, and I'm building a community where your experiences matter. Whether you're diagnosed, questioning, or simply curious, you're not alone. Our Facebook group is filled with vibrant, understanding people over 50 who share their stories, strategies, and yes, even their struggles, with plenty of laughter along the way. Ready to find your people? Join our growing Grandma Has ADHD Facebook community. Please like and subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen and share it with someone who might need to hear they're not alone, because ADHD doesn't have an age limit and neither does understanding yourself better. Together, we're changing the conversation about ADHD after 50. Come be part of the story. Today's Grandma Has ADHD episode is not for little ears. So if you have been in the habit of listening to the podcast with grandchildren or impressionable ears, this is one that you're going to want to listen to in the privacy of your own car or your AirPods. It's definitely a topic that you're going to want to hear, but we're going to use some graphic language and some real descriptions. So just giving you that notice before we start today's episode of Grandma Has ADHD. Hi, and welcome to a very exciting episode of Grandma Has ADHD. It is Valentine's Day week, and that is not everybody's favorite holiday, but I have an exciting guest. It's a part 2 podcast interview with Coach Diane D. So she is going to lead the way in today's conversation. We're going to talk about healthy sexuality with ADHD and aging. And so I am going to really let her tell you more about her experience and how she got here. And if you want to hear more about her ADHD journey and how we met, then you'll have to tune into part 1 of this episode. So welcome, Coach Diane D.
Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here.
I am so happy to have you, and I am so excited. I hate the word excited, but that's such a good word when we're talking about sex. I hope, right? To have you. I love the intersection of what you discuss, which is aging and ADHD and sexuality. So, and you were showing, we don't do a lot of pre-interviewing, so I'm going to be as surprised as you, but I know that you brought some props and there were some really important things you wanted to explain. And I told Coach Diane D that this was going to be the first episode that I really let the guest drive the bus. So take it away. And I'll ring you when your ADHD starts to go all over the place and I got to bring you back.
Thank you. Uh-huh. All right. So we talked about a lot of stuff last time. Like we went into a lot of things. So one thing that I wanted to focus on today was how we feel about ourselves and our bodies as we age. You know, a lot of us with ADHD sometimes have unrealistic expectations of ourselves or put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be a certain way or to look a certain way. And I wanted to really say that I meet a lot of people who are over, 50 or 60 or even 70 who haven't had great relationships and either their partner passed away or they're now divorced and they're afraid that they're not sexy now because sex is use it or lose it. Okay. But I want to say this, and this is so important. Please hear me. Even if you think you lost it, it doesn't take much to get it back.
Okay.
If you meet somebody and you have a great connection, and you, like we talked a lot about communicating last time, it's okay to say to somebody, listen, I haven't had sex a lot, or I haven't had sex in a long time. And I know my body's different now. So, I want to talk with you about this because I feel like we might be going in that direction. But I want to just explore your thoughts, your feelings, and explain to you how I'm going about it. And I'm scared and, see what they have to say. Sometimes they might be as scared as you are.
I would
you
think
know?
so. I would think it's very.
And you'll meet people who are, now you've let them into a little private part of your life, and you'll see how they respond. If they don't respond well, they're probably not your person.
I agree. I think vulnerability really does set the stage for intimacy. Like, I love the term I learned, intimacy, into me see. I don't know if you've heard that.
Yeah.
But you did say something I wanted to ask you. You said that it's ADHD. Like, people with ADHD tend to be more sensitive about their bodies. I mean, I have ADHD, so it's hard for me to filter anything for someone that doesn't. But I would imagine that that would be typical for most people as they age. Like, this isn't in the same place that it was when I was in my 20s. And when I was meeting my first husband, I hadn't nursed children and I hadn't had babies, and right.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's true. Everybody deals with that. But I think when we have the ADHD brain, and you talked about this last time, how we get to ruminating, we can really talk ourselves out of great relationships or great sexual adventures because of our fear of our body, of, our uncertainty, our shame, our guilt. Like, I don't want to ask for oral sex. Like, what if he doesn't like it? Or what if she doesn't like it? Or how do I tell this person that I don't want to do anal? I don't want, they might not like me. Oh my gosh. Do you know how many people go through that? Okay. I think you said, it's true. Everybody seems to go through some of that, but I think for us, it can become a bigger thing than it really has to be. Or if we ruminate on it a lot, we'll end up kind of sabotaging ourselves.
Right. I think rumination is the saboteur of many, many things. So we're going to put that to bed. I say this a lot in all of my episodes, that voice in your head needs to be kind to you. Right.
And sometimes you need to say, okay, thank you for telling me that. I heard you. Now you can go back to whatever you were doing, because I'm going to try something different.
I love that. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So yeah. So
the one thing too we didn't talk a lot about was about if you're older and you're by yourself, because we talked about, there's more single older people now than ever has been in the world. And what do you do? So I like to tell people, if you're going to explore your body, I don't recommend masturbation. I recommend pleasuring. There's a difference. Okay. So masturbation is, I'm going for my genitals and for an orgasm. I'm going to need some kind of stimulation. I'm looking for outer stuff, and I'm going to do the job. It's not, I forget the name of this guy on YouTube who talks about, masturbation yoga or something like that. But he says it best, that is not going to hold you over long term. It's not good. And you can rewire your brain into other patterns, and then you're not going to enjoy sex as much with someone else. There's a lot of things about that, a lot of research now about all that stuff. But what I recommend is that you really learn to know your body, learn to know it. So it might be as simple as, today I'm going to pleasure myself. You can do something like the 30 days of pleasure. Okay. That may be, and it's, Valentine week, the 7 days of pleasure. And every day you're going to give yourself pleasure in a different part of your body. So, and I mean, you can use things, even if you're on your own.
Give examples of what, know.
So what I was going to say is, everybody does not like to use dildos. I know a lot of people promote that. I know, as a sex therapist and erotic blueprint coach, I'm not promoting dildos. Okay. There are good and bad things about everything, including dildos. And if you're going to use one, make sure it's soft and pliable enough, because the hard ones can actually cause a little damage. Okay. That's all I'm going to say about dildos. What I want to talk about are other things that are fun and adventurous that people don't think about. So first of all, I only have one here with me today, because I'm in Houston, Texas today. But I want to show you this, and there's different versions. Mine has a cord and a charger, but you can get this cordless with batteries or whatever, and it's just a little bullet, okay? This little bullet, when you turn it on, it vibrates, and you can put it on low, medium, or fast. And if you're not seeing me, it does look like a bullet. It's a little bit bigger than a bullet would be. You can get them different sizes. So what you would do, you don't have to insert this into your vagina or your anus, okay? You can just put this in your underwear and go out with it and play with the settings and just see what that's going to give you for today. And you might just do it for 5 minutes. It's just hilarious. Okay. Like you want to start to enjoy things and play with your with different feelings and different things in your body. So this is a toy. You can use this anywhere. You can put this on while you're doing dishes, while you're doing laundry, and you can play with it. Now, if you have a partner and you're brave, you're going to get the cordless and you're going to give your partner the settings, and you are going to put this anywhere. And you can do this whether you are any gender, right? I mean, it's just as much fun on a penis as it is on a vagina. And you can put it anywhere. Don't necessarily put it like on what you think is a clitoris. You can put it on the side of the lip. You can put it anywhere. Try different things and just have fun with it and explore. Do you see how that can be pleasurable?
Absolutely.
You don't need a partner.
Fun. Spontaneous, all of the things get.
And you know where I love vibration more than anywhere else on my body is in the arch of my foot. I've actually had an orgasm by I have a big massager. I was massaging my feet. I was like, this feels really good. And I started doing the arch of my foot. Next thing you know, I was like, wow, I actually had an orgasm massaging the inside of the arch of my foot. Okay.
Nice.
So
I remember when I was a young child and I would just like massage inside my elbows, like when I was going to sleep, just to soothe myself. So right. Pleasure doesn't have to be our sex organs, right?
And if you're a sensual, it's all your senses need to be heightened. Grab something you love to eat, just put it on your lips so you can, just with your tongue, touch it here and there. Get something that feels good to you, whether it be something silky or furry or whatever. And, put stuff like different sensations on different parts of your body and close your eyes and just imagine like what that feels like. Enjoy the pleasure of it. Maybe you want to rub some of that somewhere on your body, but don't focus so much on genital. There's a whole rest of your body that people don't explore. And you don't need outer stimulation. Use your imagination and your creativity. It can start as simple as, like you said, I'm rubbing because these are erogenous zones, the inside of the elbow, the back of the knees. There's like, even if you want to follow like an erotic pattern, you'll start with your ears. Some people have like massaging your ears and the back of your ears and the front of your ears. Notice if there's sensitivities around the ears, going down your neck, really slow. Go slow so you don't miss it. Sometimes people are really quick and you miss the feelings. You miss the sensations there. Like when you're masturbating, you're not noticing all the sensations in your head and the explosions in your body. You're just focused on your genitals. Oh, good. That was good. I'm sleeping now. Wow, you missed out on so much. So like I always say, like, you can do that. Start with the top of your head, go to your ears, follow like down your neck, and you can explore both sides. They may not feel the same. Doing little circles just with one or two fingers, tiny little circles to see if that touch feels better, or does a gentle touch feel better? Maybe you like it scratchy. Try scratching. Try little pinches, little taps, try different touches.
Right. I think it's amazing how many people go through life really not being aware of their body and what feels good in their body. And I love that we're talking about something that is going to be, whether you are alone going into Valentine's Day or with a partner, you can still experience pleasure. So I love that. Okay. So tell the audience.
So I just want to say the line is like, start at the top of your head, go to your ears, down your neck, slowly get to your breast. And even men love to have their nipples touched sometimes. And this is like, you can have nipplegasms. If you're slow, you go around the breast, around the nipples, right to the touch. Go gently. Try different touches there too. Like if you've never explored different touches, that's going to be fun in itself. You might want to go down to your belly. Like, so many people and all genders are paranoid about their belly, right? Touch your belly. Be grateful for whatever it's doing for you, and my dad had a really big belly, and he used to say this, Diane, it's all paid for. He was happy with his belly. Everything in there was paid for. He says, It's the one place everything is paid for.
Okay.
Isn't that cool? Anyway, so wrap your belly. Make peace with the parts of your body that you don't like. Touch them. Close your eyes and just feel what it's like to touch that part of your body and start to love and accept it. The big bones, the hips, the shoulders, put a little pressure on there. See if it grounds you. See what that's like. Keep following that line, and you can go like down your thighs. You can touch your genitals, but not just the genitals. There's stuff in between your main genitals and your anus. There's areas there that are fun to explore. Down your thighs, on the outside, the inside, the back, all the way down to the calves and the shins and your ankles and your feet and your toes. Like, that's a lot of stuff to explore. So if you take 5 minutes every day to start your day with a little pleasure, it doesn't matter which part you start with, just start with one. 5 minutes on one part of your body. The next day, 5 minutes on a different part. You may like it so well, you'll spend more time. But I really encourage people to try different types of touches, with a partner or without. Try touching slowly, quickly, more soft or more massagey. Like, it really matters. And you can bring things in. Bring these little, even if you have a vibrating toothbrush, you can get one at the dollar store even, and you try both ends. Do you like it? Where do you like the vibration? Because you don't have to go out and spend a lot of money on a big, machine to massage you. You can start with a little electric toothbrush and try both sides in different parts of your body. Okay. It can be a lot of fun. It really is. Try with, things in your kitchen. You'll have a baster. Especially if you have one that you can put liquids in, put some kind of coconut oil or hot oil or something that you like the smell of, and see what that's like to rub it on your body with a baster. It can be a rough touch. It can be a soft touch. Like, a fork can add a fork or a spoon. Like, they can add like some cold. You could you can get dog collars that you can put ice in, or you can put them in the freezer and they're cold. Try that. What if you like cold? Maybe you like hot. Use a heating pad and see if that brings your arousal up, You know
what I think would be helpful? I think that it would be helpful for you to maybe share, without giving any clients away, maybe some examples of some people that you've helped in your coaching practice so that people can relate, especially people listening. But I'm going to pause to bring in a word from our sponsor.
Sure.
And then I think it would be super helpful if when you came back, we actually talked about, how you work with clients. And we didn't share your contact information again. Okay. So we're going to pause, take a sip of water, listen to a word from our sponsor, and then you're going to give us some relatable stories that people can hear themselves in. Ever wondered why helping a loved one declutter feels like speaking different languages? I did, especially with my mom. It wasn't until I founded Silver Linings Transitions, helping San Diego seniors organize and move for over a decade, that I discovered why. We all experience clutter differently. And for those of us with ADHD, it's a whole other world. If you are listening in the San Diego area and feeling stuck with moving, paperwork, photos, or home organization, our team at Silver Linings Transitions gets it. We understand ADHD's unique challenges, and we won't just help you get organized. We'll create sustainable systems that finally stick. Schedule a consultation with our team today at 760-522-1624. That's 760-522-1624, or find us at silverliningstransitions.com. Back with Coach Diane D. I have put some water on my throat to take that froggy voice away. And Coach Diane D is going to give our audience, our listeners, some real life examples of some clients that she has helped. So go ahead, Coach Diane D.
All right. So I had a man come into my office. He was in his 60s and he had just retired and he had ADHD. And he came to see me because he said, I have lived a life of turmoil. My wife at some point a few years ago realized I had ADHD and I really haven't done anything about it. And now that I'm retired and I'm home, she left me. And I'm devastated. So now I'm here because I need to do something and figure out this ADHD thing because I need to get her back. Mm-hmm. And I said to him, well, what has happened that's different now that she left you, Mm-hmm. And mm-hmm. basically it had been a life of constant issues because of his ADHD, his impulsivity and all that stuff. There had not been cheating, but like mm-hmm. money mismanagement or mm-hmm. doing things on impulse that really wasn't good for the family or for her or stuff. And now that he was retired, he was home a lot more and she couldn't stand him. So she left. And, he said, I said to him, well, where is she? Is there a possibility of her coming back? Do we work just with you or with this intention? He said, I think I could win her back. So we did some work on, his figuring out his executive function malfunctions and helping him get a little bit more stable. Really, that was the thing, because he was all over the place all the time. And then, I suggested certain things that he just sit and listen with her. And he said, I've never been able to do that. So we had to do a lot of work on helping him to understand the importance of listening and how he would be able to do it. And so then, he did a little bit of talking with her and she agreed to come in for a session. And so we started working a lot on just, eye gazing, on building trust again. So it took time because they had been years of struggles and mistrust, but we had to repair that. And, long story short is within about 6 or 7 months, they started traveling together and I would get postcards from them from where they were, and they were doing much better. And she said, sometimes she has to remind him, but she said he is like a different person. And I feel seen and heard now. And that's often the case. When we're with somebody with ADHD who's like this, like all over the place, who struggles to sit and listen or to really be present in the moment, the other partner often feels like they're just not seen and heard. Like, I just don't matter. I'm irrelevant.
Yeah. I do know that. I think that was a big part of the contribution to my first marriage failing. And I think everybody fundamentally wants to feel seen and heard. So, absolutely. And you're right. I think when you have ADHD, that probably is worse. So let's talk about a story where, I know you are an ADHD coach, but you're also a sexuality coach, mm-hmm. correct?
Well, my point is, once we get through that, they can start to enjoy sex together, right?
Okay. So
but
that's
first they had to get over that mountain of resentment that was sitting there. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's funny though, that I'm glad you mentioned that. The funny thing is, once they got over that and she felt seen and heard and they started reconnecting, they actually had a pretty good sex life.
Nice.
And,
nice.
And that is so the case with other things too. But I have had people who really struggle because maybe there's issues with erection and mm-hmm. they're like, well, how are we going to have sex now? Or there's painful sex for the penetration, is painful to the partner with a vagina. And so I always explain that there are other ways that men can have pleasure, and that's through the prostate gland. And I want to say this, as we age, yes, our body changes, but don't ignore warning signs. Like, if your penis is not working, you need to see a urologist. Mm-hmm. That's a doctor who deals with all that stuff. I have had so many men in couples or by themselves not wanting to engage in sex because they had a few episodes where they couldn't get an erection or they couldn't keep an erection. Mm-hmm. Or they think they were prematurely ejaculating. And I always say, if it happens just a few times, it doesn't mean it's always going to happen. That's the first thing. Now, if it continues to happen, there's an issue. Go see the doctor and ask to see a urologist. So many men have said to me, what's a urologist? And I'm like, so you have not been having sex sometimes for a year, 2 years, because they can't get an erection and they've never seen a urologist. That's mind-boggling to me, because with women, as soon as there's an issue, they send us to the gynecologist usually.
Sure. Well, women are also typically more willing to get help for any illness that we have too.
So get your prostate checked, because even if you have a swollen prostate, it's not allowing the blood flow to the penis, and that's why you can't get the erection. But that can be corrected. They can do all kinds of different things to correct that, okay? And you don't have to right away go to the little blue pill. I always say that's kind of the last resort, really. Find out the root of the problem, because it'll matter on your overall health.
And what would you recommend for women who, to your point, as we age?
Yes. And one thing about women is the lining of our uterus gets thinner and thinner. And sometimes the uterus tilts a bit, and so it'll feel different, or it'll hurt now when you touch there. You can see, I forgot the name of that specific therapist for some reason, but they actually go inside and they massage in there, and they can actually put your uterus back where it's supposed to go.
Oh,
it's a pelvic floor. It's a pelvic floor physiotherapist. I believe that's what it's called. Pelvic floor physiotherapist. And they actually can be very helpful. Okay. The other thing is make sure there's nothing else. Like, go get checked and ask. Like, sometimes we have to be really pushy with our doctors because they're going to say, oh, it's no big deal, blah, blah, blah. But it can be, if it's like your sex life matters, So the other thing is use really good lube. I mean, coconut oil is awesome, but it might change the texture of your condom depending what you're using. So make sure that that's whatever you're using for lube is also going to be working with your condom. Not that it's going to make holes in your condom or whatever. But definitely, even if you're moist, like I have women who say, well, I'm really wet. Like I squirt, I'm really wet, but maybe inside it's not as wet and you still need a different type of lube. So I always say, make sure you have a good lube, use as much as you need, and relax. That's the other thing. Because if it hurt once or twice, then we're tense, right? Because it's like we're expecting it to hurt. That'll matter. You need to have enough time with your partner and trust your partner. And your partner needs to really be able to say, hey, tell me if it hurts. I'm going to go real slow. And if it hurts, I'm pulling out. Because that I don't hear a lot of, but that's important. Okay. You have to really have great communication and say, I want to try this, but because it's been hurting, if it hurts, I need you to pull out and let's try something different. Sometimes it's a different position. We need to try different positions. I've had couples who they struggle. So this is an important thing. I'm glad you mentioned it. Can I show this? I know if you're not watching, you won't see it, but I have here a little vagina. Okay. This is a vagina.
Sure. Okay.
And you see this purple thing? This is what a lot of people think is the clitoris, but that's just the tip of the clitoris.
Okay.
Now, everybody's clitoris is not exactly at the same place, and that will matter in your pleasure, whether you're self-pleasuring or whether you have a partner, okay? And the other thing is, over here, we have skin over this hood. Like we have a hood here, like skin. If you have a lot more skin, or as you age, your skin has fallen more over the clitoris, it won't be as stimulating. You're going to have to push that skin back to get the sensations there. But that being said, you don't want to go here first because it'll be too much. This is like tons of nerve endings. So I want to show you in the back what it looks like. So this is actually your whole clitoris. Okay. So you want to stimulate all of these legs. I'm just going to call them legs for now. So all you have to do for that is you play in here, play in there, play on the sides and over here. The whole pussy, really, because it's not just the vagina, but the whole area has different types of sensations. And if you're going to use vibration here, will desensitize you sometimes. But if you use around on the skin And just notice if you prefer soft touch, if you prefer no touch. Some people just like hovering. Maybe you prefer little circular massages. And you can actually do little massages on one side and stop and go, "Whoa, what did that feel like? Let me see if the other side feels any different." And you'll probably notice it doesn't feel the same all around. Okay. But you want to remember 8,000 nerve endings just for pleasure in this whole clitoris. All right.
Wow.
So explore the whole thing. Don't get stuck on the hood, because sometimes that's too much. Too much too soon, it'll turn you off. And you'll hear, no, stop. There's a whole other area to explore. For men or people with the penis. Okay. I'm going to take my demo out. So you want to, you have here your penis. Let's say it is soft. You want to go underneath. And you want to, first of all, understand that right in here, there's something called the millionaire spot.
Oh, the millionaire spot.
So many people focus on the top here, and they miss that the penis continues all the way down to here. Okay, so you want to be exploring all of it. And between the testicles, somewhere in here,
and that's just so for people who aren't watching it on YouTube, describe.
It's between the testicles. That's what I'm trying to say. Somewhere between in between the testicles, somewhere there. Keep doing these little circles or soft touches and ask, like, how does this feel? Go a little higher. How does this feel? If you keep going up that shaft and down, like almost to under the testicles, you're going to find somewhere there's a special spot that'll make you feel crazy. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And the other part for the man, okay, or the person with the penis. I'm sorry, I don't mean to gender like that, because I know today we don't need to. So you have an area between your testicles and your anus, right in the middle there, where it's flat. That is where your prostate gland is. So nobody has to go up your butt to feel your prostate gland. Oh. And I like to teach that, because people think, oh, but if I want a prostate massage, like I don't want somebody in my butt, blah, blah, blah. You don't need to. It's under the testicles where that flat spot is before the anus. And you can just gently rub there. And if you can ask, is this enough? Press a little harder. Do you want it harder? Do you want it softer? And a man can actually have an orgasm that way.
That has nothing to do with whether or not he can have an erection.
It has nothing to do with the erection. Yeah. So I wanted to say that, because as we age, we think that if our parts don't work like they used to, that we're doomed. We'll never have sex again. And I want to say, no, you just will have it differently, right? I have worked with couples who have these issues. And sometimes like we have to coach with it or whatever, but they do figure it out. You can play with it, enjoy it, and figure it out. And try the vibrator in here. See how he gets stimulated there. Does it stimulate the prostate gland?
I love it. So that leads me to, how can people, who should find you, and how can they find you if they enjoyed this conversation and they want to use it rather than lose it, right?
Yes. Well, I am my website is dianedelina.com. So that is DianeDelina, all one word, .com.
Okay.
And I have blogs on there. I talk a lot about these things. I have diagrams sometimes and pictures. So you might want to go to my blog page. I have a newsletter you can sign up for, because I put what's coming out, because I have a book coming out on So You Have ADHD, What Now? I also have an ebook coming out on food and how it impacts our brain and our ADHD and sexuality. So I have some interesting things coming up in 2025. So you can join my newsletter. You'll find out about it. And you can also find me on social media. I'm Erotic Coach Diane on Facebook. And you'll see on my website, it has all my social media in the footer.
Right.
And I can send you that as well.
Yeah.
But
we will link it all.
Do find me. If you want to email me, it's info@dianedelina.com.
Well, we will
info@dianedelina.com.
We will put it all in the show notes. And we will also put a link to the first podcast interview that we did so that people can hear more about your ADHD journey and can relate to, your discovery of ADHD and learn more about how we met. And just in case you didn't listen, we met at the International ADHD Conference in 2024. It was so much fun to have you. And I really hope that I learned a lot, which I am very surprised at because I grew up listening to Dr. Ruth every Sunday night. So I thought I knew it all. But I didn't. So I'm really excited. And I'm really glad that you said, hey, it doesn't matter if you can't have an erection or you're having issues. There are still things that can be done. And that we really did cover pleasure, both for self and in a partnership. But I think fundamentally that rumination, that being kind to yourself is fundamentally important. And then being in a relationship with someone who feels seen and understood. I think that's, you agree, probably the fundamental, and that's something we people with ADHD struggle with sometimes is we go so fast that we don't sit still enough to really hear and see our partners. So thank you so much. This was another really fun, very different episode. It's going to be the first one that I have to put a label on before people listen, that you can't listen to this.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy you allowed me to show these things because they're important.
I absolutely agree with you. I think you absolutely agree with you. One of the things that I learned when I was younger, and I actually had the opportunity to ask a rabbi about sex when I was exploring the whole conversation in high school at a summer program, the rabbi said, God wouldn't have made it so good if he didn't want us to enjoy it. So
that's right.
I appreciate that you are on, and I appreciate that you do what you do and that you are so, open, because we need to be able to talk about these things. So thank you. All right. It was wonderful to have everyone. Thank you for listening. The opinions expressed on Grandma Has ADHD podcast are those of our guests and hosts and are intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. This podcast does not provide medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The content discussed in this episode is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician, mental health professional, or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or mental health concern. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. The host, guests, and producers of Grandma Has ADHD do not assume any liability for the content of this podcast. Listen at your own discretion.